Welcome to the Creative Ticket Podcast, brought to you by Pacific Video. I would like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which this podcast has been originally created, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people listening today. I am Geraldo Rodriguez, Sydney-based actor, writer, and director, and on this podcast I'll talk to artists from all over the world about their craft, their careers, inspirations, and insights. If you are an arts fanatic like myself, make sure to follow and subscribe so you won't miss out on new episodes. Nathan Giovanni is an Australian actor. He's currently nominated for Outstanding Newcomer at the Performing Arts WA Award for his role on Hell is Other People at the Blue Room Theatre by Monkey Brain. He has been working on stage, but also on screen. Welcome, Nathan.
Oh, thank you for having me, Geraldo.
Thank you for being here. I would like to start asking you a little bit about your work on How Is Other People. How was it like?
It was so much fun. It was a real challenge, actually. So that piece of work, it was a non-verbal physical theatre reimagining of a pardon me, of a French novelist's play called No Exit. The artist was Jean-Paul Sartre, and it surrounds the idea of these three individuals who have died, and they believe that they're waiting in purgatory, when in reality they're actually waiting in hell. And the play explores the idea of morality, of ethical decision making, and also this idea that that hell is other people, that we as people make hell for one another, but without one another we are essentially in hell, because without other people, who else reflects on us how we live in our society? You know, we need other people in order to survive, and without them we'll drive ourselves insane. And so it was this really beautiful piece. The original play is done up in this really nice, beautiful, I think it's almost Victorian kind of like setting. And we kind of took that idea and reimagined it into this like general Western Australian waiting room that you might see in like a Centrelink or like a medical centre or something like that. So really mundane and really boring. And the director, Giovanni, who's just, I owe him so much in terms of my learning and my career so far. He works as a puppeteer. He's a beautiful director, actor, and mover and dancer. And he came up with this idea of wanting to tell this story, but with no words at all, purely body, purely movement. And gesture, or not even gestures, but just by having four people in a space, not being able to talk, but also just communicating with each other through nonverbal methods, I suppose. And how can we tell this story? How can we get people to think without actually saying anything at all? So it was very, very experimental, and I loved it.
Was it your first time doing physical theatre or non-verbal characters?
Yeah. Well, see, I'd just come out of drama school at this point. So it was a big change up for me. Had I come out of drama school? Yeah. No, actually, sorry, I tell a lie. I was still in drama school when I got approached about it. But it was my first time doing physical theatre. I had done kind of movement and dance while I was in drama school, but I hadn't done a full play that was just purely physical theatre and that had no words in it at all. So it was quite a challenge, especially coming from, you know, doing Shakespeare's and Chekhov's to all, and, you know, those types of plays to all of a sudden just like being on stage, and you can't say anything. So yeah, it was a big change doing that for me.
And during the rehearsal process, did you learn the lines of your character and then transform that into movement, or did you just work with movements from the start? How do you work the script? How do you work the text in a non-verbal play?
Yeah. Sorry, my computer's currently overheating, trying to charge my phone. So the way we did it was there was Ivan gave us basically a whole script of just movement directions. So it would be something as simple as person A, because we hadn't named our characters either. We named them during the rehearsal process, but it would be like A comes and sits down, B comes and sits down and joins them. A looks at B, B doesn't look at A. And it was just really, really, really basic, like you would in a normal script for screen or stage. It would just be like, person comes and sits down, person looks over here, person breathes. And it was maybe about 5 or 6 pages of just that, which was, it was a challenge kind of to be confronted with a script like that. But then what happened was we really broke it down, and we were like, okay, we've got 6 pages of movement directions. How do we make that into a full hour-long play now? And that rehearsal process was just, it was a challenge, but it was so much fun. Finding, because we played a lot with tempo, we played a lot with subtlety, and so a lot of we didn't really have to learn lines per se, because there wasn't any dialogue, but it was rather, we knew where we'd had to move in the stage, and we knew what actions we'd have to take. And the rehearsal process was all about, okay, you have to get to this point. How are you going to get to that point? How does your character move there? What's your character's relation to all the other characters while they do that? Like there was a moment in the play where my character, the worker, who kind of ran this purgatory, he ended up being the devil himself. Sorry, not purgatory, he ran hell. But there was a moment when he would go over to a water cooler and pour water for a really long time. And it was like, okay, on a script that looks really basic, person moves to water cooler, pulls a bottle of water. But it was like, okay, what's he trying to achieve in doing that? Is he trying to annoy the living daylights out of the other 3 characters who are in the room? Okay, cool. So how slowly is he going to move to that water cooler? Okay, cool. Is he going to look at them while he's moving over? Maybe. Who knows? When he pours it, how irritating can he be when he pours that little glass of water? And so the rehearsal process was really, we knew exactly how the play was going to run. It was just about finding different niches and really pulling it apart and finding all these different variations and then seeing what would work. There was maybe about 3 or 4 different versions that didn't hit the floor in the end. Like we had this whole sequence with like ropes, and there was like a rope monster at some point that appeared from out of the stage that we decided to cut, and little things like that we found it and then it was like, maybe not, or we found something new and we'd be like, oh yeah, let's add that. It was quite a transformative kind of rehearsal process.
Amazing. And Nathan, how do you create a character based on a script that has no words, actions only? How do you go about that?
I think I remember struggling with it with this one because there was no words. But in the end, it always comes down to behavior for me, how the character behaves. I think you can tell a lot by, when you get a normal script, something that I always look at is what does the character actually physically do? And this script was purely what the character does. And so I think from that I was able to really pull apart, okay, the character likes to irritate people. He's there to tease them. He plays with them like a little kid with toys quite a lot. And so that informs me that, okay, this character is mischievous, a little childish in a way, but he's really the devil. Um, Obviously, I had the director with me quite a lot. He wrote it as well, so he was able to inform a lot about the character in terms of his intentions. Some of the stuff that wasn't in the script that you would normally get from words. Um, but also things like throughout the play, there were these little musical moments um, where the devil, my character, the worker, would come up and everyone would freeze and he would have almost like uh, a lip syncing performative moment. And whether that was like Murder on the Dance Floor, or we had Elvis in there, we had some My Chemical Romance at the very end. So very different genres, but that also kind of informed me, okay, this is the kind of mentality of the character. Um, One of the Elvis songs was Devil in Disguise. And it was like, okay, this character really likes to have fun. He's loose. So therefore, the body can't be stiff, you know? And so it's like, okay, that's now relaxed because this is a fun character. And then through the actions ramping up in the play, you know, it starts off very, very subtle at the beginning. So it's like, okay, he's hiding something. But then towards the end of the play, his actions become massive. He paints blood on all the walls. He rearranges people. He causes the climax of the film. Oh, not the film. Sorry, of the play. And so it's like, okay, he's hiding something at the beginning, and then he, you know, reveals his master plan as he goes throughout the play, and then ends with it. So all of these kinds of actions inform his behavior in a sense, and that to me as an actor is really crucial, regardless of whether there's dialogue in the script or whether there's not. I think anything that the script can give you, whether it's behavior or dialogue or how people think about him or how he thinks about other people, really informs how to build the character at the end of the day.
Right. And how does it feel to be nominated as outstanding newcomer?
Oh, it's a bit surreal. I kind of just woke up to it. I didn't even know it was a thing. um, but it was really nice. I don't think that would have been a thing if it wasn't for the incredible crew and the rest of the cast and the rest of the ensemble and Ivan, the director, who really supported me. Like, it was my first project coming out of Whopper, or during Whopper and then straight out of Whopper, apart from another one. But they were just super supportive. They were really helpful in terms of keeping me up when I wasn't maybe feeling up to, you know, when I wasn't. Because, you know, sometimes you get a project and you have your ups, you have your downs, and they were really supportive when there were the downs. So, yeah, I owe a lot to them, and yeah, it's really nice to get that.
And does a play that sort of has a script, but it's a physical script rather than a verbal one, how does it work when you get to perform in front of an audience? Does anything change because a few of the things that you thought initially were gonna be understood are not, or if there is a part of it that sometimes it's too much in the face, and do you rescale your gestures? Do you scale your performance because of the audience?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, we kind of related it the same way to when you deliver a line. You know, if a joke doesn't land, it's like, okay, well, do you need to rethink the joke? Is it okay that maybe sometimes the audience just doesn't get it, and that's okay as well? I think there were certain things that happened throughout the performances, because it was over 3 weeks, this performance, when we showed it, that we changed, and we kind of were like, that's not really adding to this story, that's kind of taking away from something else that the audience should be noticing. And so, like, I think there was one moment where it got described to me as evil eyes. I kept doing evil eyes at characters during, like, this one moment. And Ivan, the director, was like, no, cut that. You don't need that. And in the end, I found that it was distracting from other moments. So yeah, you can definitely have moments that are maybe a bit too polarizing, or too, you're taking the story in the wrong direction, maybe, or maybe like you said, the audience might not hit like a certain joke.
Yeah, and I think, as you said, even when you have a verbal performance, you have a verbal play, you adjust that to the audience. So imagine there is some sort of flow that even though they're not listening to what you're saying, they still have a very good connection to what you're actually doing and to how your intentions are.
Yeah, I think also the other thing with the play was we made it to be that there were going to be these really, really long pauses of just nothing, happening at all. So it would be an audience just looking at a blank stage, or a person just sitting on a stage doing nothing. And so in doing that, we kind of gave everything significance. So even the smallest thing, like a shoulder, twitching, or a character adjusting their seat, was noticed. So that kind of helped us to be like, okay, if the audience doesn't get it now, then they're not going to get it, and that's okay.
Amazing. You were also on Stubbornly Here, which is a feature film that made into the Western Australia Revelation Film Festival, the Rev Film Festival in WA. It's a story about 3 teenagers that fake their own deaths so they can escape. How was that experience like, going from stage to screen?
Yeah, it was weird because the stage, so in terms of order, I graduated from, I'd done a development of the stage show whilst I was in drama school. So that was mid-2022, around June. I then graduated and did this film. And then after the film shot, I went and did the play. But the film was such I can't even put it into words. It was so strange doing it because I wasn't expecting it at all. I got a call on a Friday morning. I was half asleep, asking me to audition for this movie because they couldn't find a lead to audition. One of the previous actors had dropped out of this film, and they were like, "Oh, would you like to audition for the role that just has opened up? We're shooting this coming Monday," so it was 3 days away. Like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 days away. And I was like, "Yeah, okay, sure." And I managed to get it, but so it was a very rushed job, but it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. I haven't had many, but it was just a beautiful film that was filled with such chemistry and experience, laughter, and it was just such an open set. The cast and crew were just absolutely beautiful, and I'll cherish them to the day I die.
And do you find there's a lot of difference between working on stage and working on screen?
Yeah, totally. Actually, you know what? I think yes and no. Because I think at the end of the day, it comes down to telling a story and and giving truth to that story and giving truth to the characters, and then bringing a sense of humanity to the screen and actually living in the moment of it. I think what changes is the medium, obviously. I think for stage, you're always trying to hit the back rows. You're very technically aware of, are you open to the audience? Are you projecting loud enough? Are you not minimalistic enough that no one sees what you're doing, but are you still living in that moment? And you see the story through from day to from the beginning to the very end. Whereas with screen, you can have that intimacy. You're not playing to the back rows anymore. You're playing to hear. And you can trust that the camera crew, that the sound guy, that the camera operator, everyone's going to capture whatever it is you're doing. So I think from a technical standpoint, yes, screen and stage are such different beasts. But in regards to actually preparing the work and how you do it, it's still the truth. It's still a human being that you're living as at the end of the day. And so I don't think the preparation necessarily changes, but maybe the technicality of how you would go about showing that character changes.
Nathan, you are one of the most committed actors I've ever met. And yes, it's true. And how did you start as an actor? What drew
Ooh.
you into acting?
Well, see, I had a weird. Sorry, ignore them. I had a weird start to acting. Um, I was in high school, and I did drama. They offered drama in high school, and I did it up until I think it was year 10. Year 10, I did it up to, because I kind of just mucked around all the time, and I didn't really focus, and I didn't actually do any work. It was kind of like a fun class for me. And then we had a theatre at our school, like a little auditorium, and there were places to kind of like be part of their technical production crew. And if you did the technical production crew, you could skip some classes and just go hang out with all of them. So that's what I did. I kind of went and skipped religion, skipped English to go and just like muck around with lights on a screen, or make props or whatever. And so I kind of fell in love with the arts from that, from wanting to escape from all of my classes in high school. But I kind of never really touched on the acting side of things. It was weird. I'm not sure why I didn't, but it is what it is. And then I left high school. I went and did a business degree because, I had no clue what I wanted to do. So I went and did a business degree. And then one of my friends, he had always wanted to be an actor. And so he wanted to be the new Hugh Jackman, and then go and apply for Whopper and get in and do all the courses there. And so I was like, oh yeah, why not? I'll give it a go. I'm kind of bored with my business degree. Sure. He didn't get in. I didn't get in either. But then after talking with some of the teachers that auditioned me and rejected me, they put me in contact with the Western Australian Youth Theatre Company, so Waco, over here in Perth. And that's where I met Ivan for the first time. So that's where that kind of relationship started fostering. I trained with them for about a year. And this was just during COVID. So it was kind of like very secluded and spaced out. And then, going to drama school beginning 2021, and was there for the 2 years, so 2021 into 2022. And that's kind of how I became an actor, ever since then.
Do you find drama schools are important for actors? What do you learn at drama school that you couldn't learn just by trying your luck?
I think I like this question because it depends on the individual. Sometimes drama school will be excellent for people. Sometimes it won't be. I've known many people who were just like, drama school's not for me, and they've dropped out and they've gone on their separate ways, and now they're doing magnificent things. I know people like myself who I really cherished drama school. I needed that place that was away from all the business school and, kind of, I wanted to study this thing 9 to 5. And drama school gave me the facilities and teachers and mentors who were willing to, put it all on the line and just go for that 9 to 5 as well. In regards to what it taught me, it gave me a lot of confidence in myself as an actor. I went in there nervous as hell. And coming out of that, I felt so sure of myself. I still do because of that. I don't think I could have done that any other way but drama school. They taught me a lot of techniques, especially when it comes to acting, and they take it slow. And they really allow you the time and the repetition of practicing certain exercises. We learned Uta Hagen, Stanislavski, Meisner, improvisation. We went into all sorts of practitioners' kind of works. And I think it was the fact that you could do it, you could go there every day, you were surrounded by hundreds of people who were all there for the same reason, especially in a place here like Perth where the arts group is small. It's a great group of people, but it is small compared to somewhere like Sydney or Melbourne. And so to have those people around you, exploring and finding themselves and getting confident and really practicing their craft all the time really helped me to find what I am and what kind of work I enjoy. And yeah, it was really beneficial. But then that being said, I know many people who have, you can do 3 years of drama school. I did 2. I know people who came in, did 1 year, and then they're absolutely smashing it on HBO and stuff like that at the moment. I know people who never went to drama school who just went to drop-in classes and read books all the time. And they're absolutely smashing it as well. So I think it really comes down to the individual, and knowing what you need as a person. I needed that, so that's why it worked for me. It might not work for others, but it worked for me.
And did it help you to develop a process to engage with a character, to learn a character, or does it change every time? Does every new character makes you use different techniques or different processes?
I think it definitely gave me a process. It's weird talking about process, but yeah, I think drama school definitely gave me a way of breaking down a script. It really allowed me to know what to look for, and to be confident in choices as soon as I've known them. But yeah, I feel like when it comes to a character, sometimes a certain technique might not work. Sometimes a certain technique might work. If you look at something like Meisner and his repetition exercises, sometimes that might work in allowing the text to just become nothing and to allow what's happening underneath to really foster and build up. Other times that might not work, though. Sometimes you might need a different technique. But in regards to, did drama school give me a process? It definitely did. It allowed me to kind of find what works for me. Sometimes things like actioning works for some people, where you apply a particular action to, like I'm going to direct, I'm going to, I don't know, think of a verb, any verb, like you can do something to someone else, versus like for me, I quite like looking at the behavior of the character. That's what, and picking apart a script and finding who that character is, similar to what I was saying earlier. And for me, that process was taught to me through WAPA.
Amazing. And do you find that you could play any character, or is there a limit to what an actor can do?
I think, in all honesty, I think anyone can play any character, because we're all human at the end of the day. And I think as long as you have this real sense of empathy and you bring a real truthfulness that's unbiased, then yeah, I am a firm believer that you can play any character. The question then becomes, will you be cast as every character? The answer is probably no. Because, you'll see people read for one role, and then you'll see another actor read for the exact same role, and they'll just have a certain spark to them or a certain uniqueness to them that really fits. And so, yes, everyone can play every role, but I definitely am a firm believer that certain qualities of people will lend themselves to certain characters. But yes, I reckon everyone can play every role. Yeah.
And have you been, I know you've been auditioning. I think you've also helped us with a few auditions.
Yeah.
Is there a way to approach an audition and a way to approach a character? Should you go for the audition in a specific way, and then if you get the character, try other things?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think, look, when you get your auditions, you usually only have a certain amount of time to deal with them anyways. So I think there's only so much that you can do. Obviously, I always say when you get the script, just work with what you've got. If you can get access to more materials that inform you about the character, great. Yeah, go for it. Definitely pull them apart and work with them. That's what I did with Stubbornly here. Luckily, when I got that audition on that Friday, yeah, there was I got the full script with it, so I was able to find the character straight away from all of that. I think it's inevitable that your audition will never fully be the full character, because there's always going to be something that you don't know. There's always going to be something that you might even find on the day of shooting. So I don't think you'll ever get a full, complete picture of the character just in the audition. With that said, I think you still need to put forward a strong, bold offer that's truthful and empathic and really, holds the truth of the character every time, regardless of whether it's a one-liner or whether it's, you've got 4 scenes to work with. Work with those 4 scenes, break it down as much as possible and bring a truthful version that you would naturally connect to in that audition. Don't try to be something that you're not going to be. And same with one line. If you've got one line, pull it apart. Look at what all the other characters do to you, even if you've just got that one line, and then bring a truthful representation to that. And then when you get the script later, sure, you might find that there are changes. And that's what the rehearsal process is all about, is going, okay, you brought us this. That's amazing. We love it. It's truthful. It's honest. It's you. That's why we hired you. Let's add all these little bits now that the actual full script has.
Amazing. You've probably done many auditions, and a few of them worked out fine. A few of them didn't. How do you keep motivated? How do you motivate yourself to pursue your career as an actor?
Money. I need money too. No, I think, in all honesty, how do I keep motivated? I think coming from the fact that I did a business degree and I hated it, I now see that as kind of like, well, what happens if I don't become an actor? It's like, I go back to that. Well, I don't want to go back to that. I love this. And nothing's going to really stop me from pursuing this because I love it so much. I find that it really provides me with a beautiful sense of escape when I get handed a new script, or when I see a performance, or when I see a movie that gets released at an indie cinema. It really motivates me seeing other people loving life just the way that I love this. And that's what keeps me going. It's people like yourself, who do this beautiful podcast. And it's like, okay, wow, like who would have thought, that's incredible. That it's like, okay, there's another creative outlet that I just came up with. Sure. And that then inspires me to go, oh, okay, maybe I can go and do this. Not out of a sense of, oh, I need money to afford my avocados, but just like, it's like, I know that it will work out regardless of how long it takes. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And so when you get those rejections, when you get those no's, it's okay, because, the next one's around the corner and you just need to be prepared for it. And that's how I keep motivated, is being like, okay, sure, I didn't get this one. I'll go do a self-tape, or I'll go test this, or I'll go watch this play and find something, or I'll go to an art gallery, or I'll go just find something that's completely separate from acting that can inspire me artistically, or that can, make me happy or make me joyful or whatnot. Maybe I'll go spend some time, like I'm back in Perth at the moment because I've just done some stuff and I'm like, okay, I need a breather. I think you got to put your life first, and you got to understand that there's wins and there's losses, and that's just part of it, and that's okay. You know, you're all going to be okay from it.
And again, I'll repeat that same question, but trying to get to a different reflection.
Oh,
Not
sorry.
that. No. It's completely fine. It's not the same question. It's what drew you into acting, in the sense that is it? And I ask this because I ask myself the same question. Is it the need to prove that we got something that is valuable enough to be shared? Or is it just that things in the world strike you as amazing, beautiful, entertaining, emotional, and you want to be part of that? Or is it the ritual? Like the ritual of going into the theater and seeing the lights go down, and then suddenly the lights go up, and you see someone on stage, and that's just so amazing. What is it? What is it that still?
I think I look. I think I grew up with my nonna and my grandfather and all my family constantly telling me stories, and I think it's innate in me because of that. I don't know if innate's the right word, whatever that word is. I think it's part of me now from having had them as my childhood to read and to share stories that I find have helped me to grow, have helped me to think. I just love that. I love that sense of telling stories, and I think it's something that not only us artists should do, but everyone should do. I constantly love doing that. I love going to the theatre. I love spending my free time doing that. And I'm like, why wouldn't I want to be involved in that world? Whether it's acting or directing or writing. Yeah.
Amazing.
I don't know if it answers the question, but yeah.
It does. It does. Because I find that stories have a way to heal and to teach and to entertain and to connect us that is truly powerful.
I think stories have such a purpose, you know, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a play or a film, but even something as simple as poetry or a piece of painting or a piece of music. You know, I think their purpose is to pass on a lesson or to pass on a feeling that makes us think internally. And I love being affected by that. And in turn, because I love being affected by it, and like I love reflecting on it when I hear a piece of music and it makes me cry, or I go to an art museum and I stare at a piece of art for 5 minutes like a weirdo. You know, I love that feeling that it gives me. And so I love then making that for other people and sharing those stories and telling something to someone and then having someone in the crowd later on come up being like, that was the most resonant thing that I've ever heard. And that gives me a sense of fulfillment of almost like being like my nonna telling me a story about how I was 3 and used to embarrass her. You know, like it's really beautiful. No,
You're telling how your nonna told you stories while you were growing up. And I would like to listen from you. You grew up in Perth, right?
yes.
And I find that Perth is a very good nest for artists, amazing artists coming out
Yeah.
from Perth. What is like growing up artistically in Perth? And because I find that for the people that don't know about Perth, Perth is the most isolated capital in the world. So it's the capital of Western Australia, which is very far away from other capitals.
Yeah.
And I think Perth has a very special sense of community.
Yeah.
Does it influence the way you approach life or you approach an artistic career?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think there's something beautiful about Perth. I think the seclusion is part of it. I think it's this little hidden paradise that feels like a bit of a retreat for me now as an artist. I spent a lot of time over in Sydney, and I think before moving to Sydney, I used to think Perth was so far away from everything, and I was like, oh, we're in Perth. There's no. I don't know. There's maybe one major state company that's doing theatre, and then a few other independent companies who are making theatre here, which is maybe like 2 or 3 suburbs worth of Sydney's theatre companies. It's tiny, the circle here. But the community here is so supportive, and that's something that I really, really cherish and I really crave. It's why I went to drama school. It's why I work with the people that I do. And so, to me, Perth will always be this really beautiful place where I can just come and find the Nathan that always wanted to be the artist, that always wanted to be on the stage, making stories, telling stories, and making films. It's where the hell is other people. I did that here. I filmed stubbornly here, and I think there's something that's also, because I live on the coast here, it's so relaxed. Everyone says hi to one another, whether you know each other or you don't. The pace is so slow, and to me, that it gives me a really good second to just breathe. Whereas you go to Sydney or you go to Melbourne, everyone's hustling and bustling, and everyone's got a place to go, which is great. It's beautiful. I love Sydney, but I think in terms of becoming an artist and wanting longevity in that, I think Perth really, really has given me that sense of relaxation and being like, it's all going to be okay. It's all good. Don't stress. Don't rush it. Just go with it. And it hasn't failed me so far.
Amazing. Well, earlier this year, you were part of the ensemble of the Lemon Trilogy here in Sydney.
Yeah.
So it's a production from England, is it right?
Yeah,
From
yeah.
the National Theatre, which is
From
one
the
of the
National
most
UK.
yeah. How was it like?
It was lovely. It was a very, very small ensemble role. I got to spin on a table like 8 times a week and did maybe 2 minutes of stage work. It was great. And it paid my bills for a bit, which is lovely. But it was, for me, I think it was such a transformative experience because I grew up when I was wanting to get into acting. In that period before I got into drama school, I used to watch the National Theatre live because that was during COVID. So they started that up, the National Theatre at Home streaming services and stuff. So I just constantly would absorb National Theatre performances. And so going through drama school, I used to love watching them, hearing the news, watching them at the cinema when they streamed here every once in a while. And then when the opportunity came up in Sydney that they were doing an international tour and they were going to Australia and to Sydney, I couldn't say no. It was beautiful. I got to work with some incredible actors who are all just seasoned veterans of stage. One of them unfortunately passed away quite recently, Adrian Schiller, and I've never seen such a electrifying, relaxed. I use the word transformative all the time because he literally was. He went between 50 characters throughout the course of the 3 nights, other 3 hours, I swear. And he was just one of the most beautiful people. He was so kind, and he taught me a lot, and so did the other actors, Howard, and Adrian, and Aaron, and they were just they were lovely, absolutely lovely, and we got to hang with the understudies all the time, and they themselves taught me so much about their craft. Watching them go on stage after talking to them for weeks on end when they got called up, and watching their interpretations of the performance, and seeing them, these professionals just work day after day after day for 3.5 hours every single night, and seeing how they were still able to produce the same thing every night, but it was different. There'd be a slight, a little unique thing, just a little flair put onto it every night that would change. There was one part in the show where Adrian would become this, like, I don't know, 60 to 70-year-old dad who had to give away his daughter every night to get married. And just seeing him transform from this young, boisterous character into this dad who, had to sit on top of a box, on top of a chair, and just seeing him leap up and do this little, like, squeal every time he would leap up onto this box every night. It would make my night. It was beautiful. And then to see him, later transforming into a rabbi lecturing little students about the plagues of Egypt. And then, it was just beautiful. And I will never, ever forget the lessons that just being there for 2 minutes every night taught me. It was a masterclass every single night.
It's a very funny profession of being an actor, being an entertainer. What was the moment in your career, Nathan, where you had the most fun of all?
The most fun? Oh, I can't choose, Geraldo. I think I can narrow it down to points where it was so absurd that I thought to myself, why am I doing this? I remember my first ever assessment at WAPA. We did a piece called Santa's Dolphins. It was written by an American writer, and it was about Santa during climate change, global warming, and he'd replaced all the reindeers with dolphins. So reindeers and dolphins hated each other. And I played Blixen, and Blixen was having an affair with one of the dolphins. And we had to perform this on stage in front of a whole crowd at a festival. And I just remember going, what am I doing? I'm 22 years old. I'm playing a horny reindeer who wants to fall in love with his dolphin girlfriend. And I just finished my business degree, and I'm now playing this at a drama school my first year. What am I doing with my life? And I was just like, that's it. But I think that was beautiful because it was like, okay, you can relax now. Who cares? Just play it. Have fun with it, It really got me to get rid of all of my fears and embarrassment by doing that. But it was so much fun. So much fun.
And do you find that, like, maturing as a performer is dependent on being a more mature human being as well?
I think so. But at the same time, I think you can't lose your child. You can't lose your inner child, because that's what we do. We play. We get words on a page, and we play. But that being said, you have to have life experience at the same time. How can you pick up a script that says, this man who's been in a 5-year relationship has to dump his partner, and not suffered heartbreak yourself? How can you know how that feels? How can you be empathetic towards a character not knowing how that feels? Obviously, you're not going to have every single experience under your belt, but I think you got to put your life first and really just experience as much as you can and mature as much as you can, without losing that inner kid who's not afraid to let loose and play and have fun with it all. I think they go hand in hand together. And that's why I love talking to artists, because they have that sense of maturity, but they're also, not afraid to, put on some music and start dancing or just, muck around for a bit.
I got two more questions.
Yeah.
And what kinds of projects interest you at the moment?
Good question. I don't know. I don't know what questions. Not what questions. What projects are interesting. I guess, like I said, I'd finished working with the National Theatre, and now I'm kind of revisiting Stubbornly Here as it gets released, and does the festival run. And so I don't know. I'm kind of waiting. for that next thing to kind of just hit me. I like to not jump onto the next big thing, but just wait until something really feels good and then be like, yeah, okay, this is it. I'd love to do some more theatre, especially after working with the National. I'd absolutely love to. And yeah, I'd love to do some more film and theatre.
Any types of characters that you would like to approach?
I'd love to find something that's really. I don't like to stereotype characters, but I really would love to find someone that you just feel sorry for. Like whether that's maybe something of the more, not that criminal underbelly type, but I love that story of just the character that is in the wrong world. You know what I mean? Like he shouldn't be where he is, and you want to see him escape. I'd love to find something like that. I'm currently writing. I've written a piece, a little short film of myself, of my own. That's kind of centered around that. That's revolves around this 8-year-old kid, who's just in the not the best environment for him in terms of his home. And I kind of pulled inspiration from that idea of having it be non-verbal and to let actions take, kind of bringing the story along. So maybe I'd like to produce or direct that. Yeah, I'm kind of just waiting at the moment. I'm kind of just enjoying my piece at the moment.
And do you find that having other creative outlets, like whether it's writing or directing or painting or singing, dancing, does it help you as an actor?
God, yeah. It's so important. I think if you sit around and wait to be an actor, it's not a good thing. I think you can become a bit stagnant doing that. I think you definitely have to have other creative outlets. Like what I said before, I'm waiting for the next thing to kind of hit my inbox. It doesn't mean that I'm not doing anything else. Like at the moment, I'm learning how to play piano. And something as simple as that has really taught me about just learning to take your time, knowing that, you read a piece of sheet music or whatever. Yes, it's good. It speaks the way it is. You know the song whenever you play it, but you can take your time with it. You can change it a little bit. So just something as simple as playing the piano. When you apply that to a script, it's like, okay, the words are there, but you can take your time with it. You don't have to rush it. You don't have to hit the dot perfectly. I think it's really important to, as an artist, to pursue other creative outlets, because eventually the time will come when a script hits your inbox and you're like, okay, cool, this is the one. I'm off to be an actor again. But in the meantime, I think you can't just be like, oh, I'm an actor. I'm waiting for my inbox to go bing or something like that. You have to be like, okay, cool. I'm an actor, sure, but I'm also learning how to play the piano. I'm writing my own short film. I might produce it. I might go learn another skill. Go learn how to box. Go learn how to, I don't know, swim a certain technique. Go learn how to rock climb. Learn some archery. Go learn another language. That's beautiful. I'm trying to learn Spanish at the moment. It's an atrocious endeavor on my behalf. But it's you can't stop being a human because you're wanting to be an actor.
That's very well put.
That I just pulled that out my ass, that one.
And Nathan, my very last question, and this is a question I ask all of the guests on the Creative Ticket, is what makes you, you?
I hate this question so much.
You don't have to answer it if you don't want to.
What makes me me? I think regardless of whether I'm an actor at the end of the day, or whether I'm learning how to speak Spanish, or massacring the piano. I think I'm still a guy from Perth, WA, who grew up on the coast, who loves his family, who loves watching movies and will always be the dreamer at the end of the day, and the person who loves this industry. And I think regardless of whatever happens, I think I'll always love that. I'll always be a little bit of a kid. I'll always love a good joke, regardless of whatever happens. And I encourage other people to be the same.
Thank you so much for your beautiful answer. Thank you so much for your inspiring stories. And thank you so much for your time here on The Creative Ticket, Nathan.
Thank you, Gerald. It's been a pleasure to talk to you again.
It was great listening to you. Thank you for listening to the Creative Ticket podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please remember to share this with your friends and family and subscribe so you can stay up to date with new episodes. Feel free to reach out to hello@pacificvideo.com.au for feedback and suggestions. We would love to hear from you. Take care.